I think we're good to jump in. Well, as folks join, they can get caught up here. But welcome to NextCycle Michigan's Seed Awards information session. So we're hoping this can answer any questions you have about this funding opportunity. So we're actually going to kick things off with a poll. I'll drop a link into the chat, but um, it'd be great to hear about what you may be working on and some of the things that you're considering getting funded. Well, and Bridget, I don't know if we're seeing the full question yet.
Yes, it should be here. It says, which material are you looking to address? Okay, compostable foodware, organics, food waste, food scraps, glass, plastics, cardboard.
Yeah, I don't see anything on my screen. Just it's just a blank rectangle.
Hmm.
We'll keep adding some responses. We'll see if we can get that showing.
Goodness. Well, it's only showing for me, I guess. I'll send a
Exclusive.
screenshot and send it to y'all, but we can move on.
Okay. Exclusive access. But yeah, great to hear like folks are working on different types of projects, but hopefully today we can, help you figure out getting funding for those. So Matt Flechter will be providing a quick welcome from Eagle. I'll provide an overview of the program along with Mario Richardson, who supports the grant administration. And we'll talk through some resources and tools, and then Bridget will take us into some breakout rooms so that we can actually discuss some of your projects and answer questions you have in real time. So at this point, I will hand it off to Matt.
Hi, everybody. Looks like Mario and I both had the same idea. Throw a coat on because you're all important and we should look good for you. Mario, you look good. Um, so I'm Matt Flechter, Recycling Market Development Specialist with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. See some familiar faces. I'm glad you're all here. I'm going to run through, if you want to click through the next slide, if you have that control, Kira. A little bit of overview about why we're doing this, why we support the Next Cycle program, and how we are activating on technical assistance and money related to getting your projects launched. But first, why are we doing this? Because if we reach a 45% recycling rate in Michigan, by tripling our previous recycling rate. And I love seeing this slide. It like reminds me like, oh yeah, we were at 15 and now we're at 26. So we're well on our way to achieving that goal. Our goal of recycling 30% of our municipally and commercially generated material in Michigan by 2029. We just had our big announcement a couple on Earth Day of this year to let people know that we're well on our way, record breaking again. Our recycling rate has hit 60 or 26%. But why do we do that? For jobs, for economic impact, for environmental protection. We know that as soon as we hit that 45% recycling rate, we're going to have 138,000 jobs in the recycling and reuse and recovery industry in Michigan, and $33 billion of economic output. That number is big. It is on par with tourism. We all know that tourism is an important part of Michigan's economy, but what if you were just to randomly tell your aunt that that recycling is as important? It doesn't seem like it would be. That even makes sense that recycling is important to Michigan's economy as tourism? What? And then when you think about it, you're like, wait a second, everything that you see in front of you, your computer, your shoes, if you're wearing them, anything on your desk in front of you will either end up circulating in our economy, creating new jobs as it moves through, new resources, new materials, Or it will end up in a hole in the ground forever and ever that we have to take care of forever and ever. And when you think about everything that you're touching, everything that you see, our entire built environment, our entire um, existence will have the opportunity to either be a new job or a liability. Then you see, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. $33 billion. That number really does make sense. So let's move on. And we have these numbers based on a gap analysis. We have the updated gap analysis that I have a feeling Kira's about dropping a link in the chat with our new one. Just recently released. We look at where those gaps are in collection, processing, and in markets. And we set goals and objectives based on target materials. But for the seed grants, it's an all of the above uh, process, and it also includes more than just what you're seeing, not just collection, processing, and markets, but it looks at those waste prevention and reuse opportunities that align very closely to collection, processing, and in markets, because we see the recycling ecosystem as a system. So we have to think about all of the opportunities for reducing the generation, for reusing the materials, and collect, process, and create in markets for those materials. So we have a lot of projects in each of those, and we're hoping that you will put together a good proposal that we can select and move forward, and you can be part of this process to grow your good ideas to grow Michigan's circular economy. So thank you all for being here.
That's
Thanks,
perfect
Kira.
introduction, Matt, to set the stage of why we have seed awards. So these awards are really designed to help you hit the ground running with some of these projects to meet some of the gaps that Matt was just talking about. And I did link in the chat the page that we have the gap analysis published, both the Michigan's larger gap analysis as well as a consumer battery report. So there's a lot of materials that we can address, and we hope these awards can help you do that. These are relatively small awards just to get you moving. $8,000 to $10,000 will be the amount that you can request. We don't have any match requirements, so we hope that that helps reduce some of the barriers for you to get started. But in addition to this award, we do have 10 hours of technical support. So you'll get the award funds as well as working with some NextCycle staff to help you move your project along. So we are targeting roughly 30 projects to fund through this program. In terms of the types of projects that we're looking for, it can be a wide range of solutions, whether it's a new technology that you're developing, whether it's integrating recycled content into a new product, adapting our supply chain through like the collection, some of the processing needs we have. So it can be, that's pretty material agnostic in terms of some adaptations that there may be. Organic material is one of our biggest gaps that we have highlighted in the report. So whether that's food scraps, wood waste, there's a broad variety of projects that could be framed around that, as well as looking upstream. So upstream being reuse, remanufacturing. So not just what we're doing after material has been used and getting it into a new product or recycling stream, but how can we avoid that waste in the first place and make sure that we're being mindful stewards. And all of these projects that we're prioritizing really are aligned with some of these priority gaps that are showing up in this report, whether it's the 1.5 million tons of food scraps that are disposed in our municipal solid waste stream, whether it's commercial cardboard that we can be capturing, scrap metal, wood waste, and a variety of other material streams that are spotlighted in that report. And, for this, the stage of project really depends on where you are. These awards are more designed to support earlier stage, whether you're doing some of the initial research, validation, even getting ready to launch some pilots. These seed awards are perfect for that early work that you need to have happen. But even if you're just scaling something that you've already established and you need an extra bump in funding to help you get to new residents to collect food scraps or to expand access or to get additional equipment to help with additional recovery. Some of those growth or expansion projects are also eligible. But I'll hand off to Mario to share a little bit about some of the types of projects that we've seen previously that may be a good fit.
Thanks, Kara. Yeah, so just kind of want to give you guys some examples of different projects that we funded over the years through our seed and harvest grants. And so the first one is Emmett County. Their Give All Food a Future initiative was designed to raise awareness about food waste issues and how they can expand food scrap collection, as well as composting among all the households within their counties. And so what they did was they used some of their funding to expand their marketing efforts through palm cards and brochures. They also purchased additional drop-off carts and used some of their grant funds to wrap those carts with county signage, just so that they could stick out a little bit. And then they also provided some residents with local cards so that they could do some food scrapping within their homes. So another one of our projects was Agricultural Savage Warehouse of Detroit. And so this project really focused on the recovery and processing of non-resalvageable lumber. And so what the company was doing was going out and getting the lumber from different construction sites, from demolished homes and buildings, and then turning that lumber into reusable items such as mulch, biochar, and other processed end products that they can give out to communities or resell to keep these items out of landfills. And then lastly was D2 Solar. So this project focused on creating a mobile powered battery trailer for off-grid communities. And so they collected old recycled batteries and solar panels and reused those to build a battery charging station for communities that need to use power. So three really, really great projects just to kind of give you an idea of the different projects we fund and then the different ways you can use your funding. So speaking of funding, just kind of want to go into a little bit more detailed about what's allowed and not allowed as you're starting to think about your projects and your budgets. We do have a lengthy list of expenses that you can cover with your projects. So the purchase or rental of equipment and supplies that you may need. If your project is based on research and testing, you may want to purchase some type of online systems to kind of help with some of your surveys or data collection. Marketing materials and promotion. So again, whether that's brochures, palm cards, ads, signage for different things, flyers, kind of promoting your service or project, as well as labor, contractual services, and then travel. So maybe there's travel for staff members to go to different sites, or maybe you want to do some type of hauling, depending on if you're collecting refurbished items. I did just want to point out that for travel, we do align all of our travel with the state of Michigan travel rates, as these are state funds and not federal funds. And we did drop that link into this PowerPoint, which we'll send out so you'll have access to kind of pull it. So with that, we also have to talk about what's not covered by the grant. And so that would be personnel time for like vacation or leave, any supplies that do not fit directly with the scope of work plan, and then any conferencing, networking fees, or the purchase of rental or property. And again, as you're working on your budgets, if you have questions, you can always reach out to us and we can kind of go through that list with you. So, what to expect if you're selected? So obviously the applications will be open, you'll apply, we'll have our review process. Our goal is to award up to about 30 projects. And so once we go through the review process and the awardees are selected, they'll be notified about next steps, which will include an onboarding meeting with the RS staff, just to kind of talk about where you are now with your work plan, as there may be a few months of lapse between your actual submission and then your actual start of work. During that conversation, we'll talk about our online portal for documentation, and then we'll also work with you to refine your work plan and budget if there needs to be any changes. Once the final work plan and budget is in place, then I'll send out your agreement for review, and then upon execution, we will go ahead and award you 50% of your grant funds up front. So let's say you have a $10,000 grant award. 5,000 of that will be dispersed to you once you sign your agreement. We do expect these projects to be completed within 6 months, although we do understand that things happen. And so that's something that we can talk about during your onboarding, whether you need additional time to complete your project. And then while you're working on your project, you will have regular check-ins with our staff members, whether it's for technical support, whether you have questions for me about your budget or grant award, or if let's say we get to month 5 and you're like, oh my gosh, Mario, I need more time, we can look at talking about a project extension as well. Once the project is completed and you've turned in all of your final reporting, so that'll be your programmatic reporting, as well as all of your expense documentation for all of your grant funds, then we will go ahead and disperse the remaining 50% of your award. So. And then just wanted to talk about, since we're talking about expenses, documenting expenses. So again, because these are grant funds, we do have to document all of our expenses. So again, you'll get 50% of your award upfront upon execution. You will need to keep all of your receipts and invoices as well as proof of payment. And again, if awarded, we do kind of go into a little bit more lengthy explanation of what proof of payment looks like. Because again, at the end of the award, you'll turn all of that into our online portal. It'll be reviewed, and then once approved, we'll go ahead and disperse the remaining grant funds to you.
Thanks for recapping that, Mario. In addition to just the award itself, again, there is 10 hours of technical support from NextCycle staff. That includes, anything from refining the business model itself, data that may help support the work, communication support, different feedstock sourcing. So the technical support's really designed to meet your needs. But of course, before we get to that point, the applications are evaluated by a separate review panel, and they're going to be looking at your value proposition. How impactful is the project that you're proposing? How much material are you able to divert from Michigan landfills? How scalable is your solution? How do you fit into the market and being sustainable long-term financially? How do you impact the environment, economic impacts to your local community, and even equitable impacts of how you're scaling your project? So those are some of the considerations that review panels will look through, in addition to who your project team is. How well prepared are you to launch into this work and scale the solution? So it really will focus pretty holistically on what your project is doing and who's executing it, to select great projects. As you're preparing for this application, please utilize these templates. They are posted on the website in addition to the application packet, but there's a work plan and a budget for you to fill out. The work plan should be a pretty, high level overview of how you're planning to execute your project. The application itself and those questions will say what you're doing and why, but the work plan's the how. How are you diving into, launching your pilot or working with partners or developing a marketing strategy? So outlining those tasks with clear metrics and clear deliverables is going to help the reviewers understand your readiness to roll out this work. And then the budget will be a pretty high level approach of what your expenses are, whether that's equipment, supplies, travel costs, some of those other expenses that Mario detailed out. But if you have questions about any of those templates too, our team's available to help you with those. And a few just quick tips. Try to be clear, concise, and relevant. A lot of you are doing great work that probably aligns with what you're applying for funds for, but I encourage you to stay focused on, if you're applying for, between the $8,000 to $10,000, what is that funding specifically? Because realistically, that's probably only scratching the surface of some of your larger budgets of your projects, but your work plan and budget should be applicable just to the funds that you're requesting. And make sure your work plan and budget are speaking to each other so that there's a clear line between, your task 1 and your work plan includes X, Y, and Z budget expenses. So trying to keep those syncing together so that there's a clear understanding of what you're doing and how that impacts your budget. A clear timeline also helps understand you can go back, sorry, going slow here. Clear timeline of just what you plan to accomplish by when, since as Mario mentioned, these are roughly 6-month projects. They're fairly quick. So having a timeline that lays that out of what you plan to accomplish in each month will help us understand what you plan to implement. And since these are small awards, keep in mind what's fitting for the award size. So Emmett County with their food scrap drop off, they were able to fund that with $5,000. And I think understanding what's possible with the amount of funds is important to be realistic with the project. And all of these applications will go through an online portal. So from the application webpage and the information packet, you can access the online portal. This is a shared profile. So if you've applied to NextCycle programs before, if you've applied to Eagle recycling grants before, it is the same profile that you can use to log in. On the top, there are going to be different options to select the right portal. So just make sure that you're in the NextCycle Michigan grant portal, and you'll be able to see at the bottom of the page, you can add another application card to start the application for the 2026 SEED Awards. But again, as you have questions on any of this process, reach out to our team and we can support you through that. Just a quick look on timeline. So we're at the info session. Applications opened earlier this month. You will have till June 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern to submit your applications. And it'll be a roughly 2 to 3 month review period. Last year, I believe we had 126 applications. So it is competitive and it is a big lift on the selection panel to review those applications. So we're anticipating fall 2026, notifying you about your awards so that roughly January 2027, you can be starting work. So a callback to those work plans and timelines. As you're putting those together, I would keep that in mind that your projects will be roughly from January to June 2027 of when you can execute the work. And we do have some resources available to support you as well. So we've already shared the gap analysis in the chat, but we do also have some other resources on the NextCycle website, including different reports, data connections, best practice guidelines. So I encourage you to explore those resources. The application packet is going to be your best friend. This has some of the detail that Mario shared about eligible expenses already, some information about different projects that may be a good fit, the timeline, links to the online portal to apply, as well as some other background information. So I encourage you to review that. And then Bridget's also available for office hours. So as you have project-specific questions, as you're going through, definitely reach out to her or feel free to email our team with questions. But at this point, I'll hand off to Bridget for breakout rooms.
Great, thanks, Kira. So we have several breakout rooms for y'all to join. And each of these breakout rooms will have separate conversations and be led by separate hosts. So we have Elisa, Kira, and Mario leading, and then I'll remain in the main room if you have any side questions. But essentially, y'all are going to share a little bit about the project that you're working on, any specific questions that you may have, either about the project or the application. And then also listen in to what other folks are asking. It may be a question that you also have or didn't think of, and that will be helpful for your application process. And you're welcome to switch between the breakout rooms as you feel fits. So I'm going to get those launched for us. We have probably around 20 minutes, Kira, for breakout rooms. So I'll open those rooms and it self-selects, so you'll have to join the one that you're interested in. But like I said, we have Elisa. She's going to talk about project fit and eligibility. Same with Kira, talking about fit and eligibility. Mario can answer questions about administration and its expenses. And then I'll be here again if you have any side questions. So I'm going to open those rooms now.
Okay, cool. Well, just to close things out, then we did just want to share a few other opportunities. NextCycle Michigan has a variety of options throughout the program. So primarily we manage an accelerator. So some of our participants are wrapping up their program and will be presenting at the showcase coming up June 24th in Traverse City. So that's a great opportunity to see what other solutions are out there, network with other folks that are helping build a circular economy, and hear about some other opportunities. We've already mentioned the gap analysis, but I do recommend you look at both of the, the larger Michigan Recycling Report as well as the Consumer Battery Report, that can be for referencing data to pull into your application of like, here's why this solution matters. And then there are a variety of other funding opportunities coming through as well. So Eagle does have some organics focused grants that are coming soon. Eagle just announced this at the Michigan Recycling Coalition Conference. So if your project relates to organics, that's going to be something to keep your ear to the ground on. And then there are glass recycling grants that are open right now as well. So I'd encourage you to look at other funding opportunities as well. And again, like, you can always stack your funding opportunities, and we're happy to help you navigate that. But thank you so much for joining, and please feel free to reach out to our team if you have any questions.